Good evening. Today, our fellow citizens, our way of life, our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts.
It was one of those instances that we all talk about where we know where we were, and I was thinking back, it's almost like a snapshot. I know where I was standing, and you know, it was like a picture in my mind of where I was when I heard the news of what had happened.
I was working for the Huntsville Police Department, had got off work from working night shift for the previous night, and when the attacks happened, I was at home eating breakfast and watching TV after working all night.
Center, where we have just received word that a plane apparently has crashed into the tower.
I was recruiting in the Dallas-Fort Worth area for new students. I was staying in a hotel room about 2 miles from the World Trade Center in Dallas. And so I was right there in Dallas, woke up, and that was what was on television.
When I first heard about the airplane that had crashed into the World Trade Center, I was on my way to work, and my first thought was, this is a horrible, horrible accident. But when I got on into my office and the second plane had crashed, I realized that it was much more than a terrible accident.
As a pilot, I was wondering, how could anybody fly into a building? And I thought the weather was pretty bad until I saw it on TV. Then I realized something was wrong because it was a clear day in New York City.
I can just remember the fear on campus of us being so close to Houston, such a large city, and people wondered if we were safe or if we should call off school for that day. And so I can just remember the fear and the emotion that everyone had on campus here that day.
I really worry that we've got a whole generation, students that were in elementary school, junior high, that are our college students now, that are growing up in a very different time. Some of the freedoms that we took for granted when I was a kid, when I was in college, when I was a young working adult, are things that can no longer be taken for granted. That's influenced this whole generation of students that we've got coming into adulthood at this point.
The 10th anniversary shows that the United States is a very, very diverse community, and it can bounce back. That you can attack us, you can try very many things. All you'll do is strengthen our resolve. And I think that that's what 9/11 did.
I can hear you, the rest of the world hears you, and the people who knock these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
Well, we've been at war for 10 years. As a reservist, I've been deployed twice since 9/11. We've learned a lot about a generation of service members, of what they're willing to give, and I think we now have our new greatest generation, just because we've seen so much of what our generation has done during this war and has stepped up and stood where we need to stand when our country called.
Think about unity and perseverance, and then also compassion. And I think going through these 10 years of just seeing how it's changed the world, especially our country, so much, it's just made people more compassionate. And then also the perseverance of how we've moved forward and how we've gotten past. We don't forget, but we've moved past it.
There's a stronger sense of pride within the United States, within the citizens of the United States, and probably a stronger bond to our United States military from the average citizen.
It also did for us was show a level of patriotism, and that that we can all come together and for a common good. And I think being the 10th anniversary, it's just a reminder that that's what makes this nation great, and we need to continue not just on the anniversary of this, but always come together as one nation.
Although it was a time of shock and stun and terrible, terrible sadness, what I do remember about it was a coming together of our country. It was a time when we were very, very proud to be Americans. It was a time when we pulled together like probably no other time in my lifetime.